Listen, everyone, it is super important in this moment that we spread the awareness of domestic violence and abuse. Some of us think that we're not affected by it, and that's probably because we done went through it and didn't even realize it. So I want to encourage you all to research domestic violence and abuse. If you are a survivor, I'm here to celebrate with you because I'm a survivor as well. I also want to encourage those who have been following my broadcasts or my pages. Please be a part of the movement. This movement is not just restricted to me and my sorors. It is for the community as well. So let's spread the awareness of domestic violence together. Hi, everyone. I hope all is well with you. This broadcast is a very special broadcast because this is in light of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this is a very important topic. I know that when people are truly unaware of how something affects them, that they're not likely to listen, but I want you all to understand that the domestic violence can affect anyone, okay? Especially if you're unsuspecting and you don't realize you're in that situation yourself. And yes, that's how domestic violence occurs. Okay, so first of all, domestic violence starts off as simple abuse. And what that means is you can be in a relationship with somebody and this person may not be calling you out your name at first. This person might be ignoring you. This person might be ghosting you, and you might still be tolerating this person. And eventually, let's say somehow you and this person decide that you want to continue on in a relationship. So now in a relationship, this person is doing other things that make you feel uncomfortable, that you don't like. And in a attempt to keep this person from ghosting you again, you may not say nothing. And so sometimes abuse can be subtle because, again, when an abuser do things, first of all, they're not going to just straight up hit you in most cases, okay? Before the hitting part comes into play is other levels of abuse that leads up to getting hit, okay? The reason why, if you think about it, that this is true, because I'm quite sure any of us that have ever been on a date or been in a relationship, if we went on a first date and somebody hit us, that's at a stage where we're like, no, definitely not. If anything, we're going to call the police on this person. We're not in love with this person. We are done with this person because this person is obviously crazy, okay? But what happens is with an abuser, of course, they know if they put all of their foolishness out at once, you're going to most likely not be involved with it. So what happens is there's some time that must pass by where your emotions and your feelings and your arousal for this person raises up to the point of where now you're connected and you have a soul tie with this person. So when the person do hurtful things, you're forgiving it, you're bypassing it, you're saying to yourself, it'll get better, things like that. And then when you get to that point, the abuser can draw you in to where it can become physical. Okay. And I can speak on this because I've had experience with this matter. And I believe that there are people that are listening to this message that have been in the same, similar, or worse predicaments than I have concerning this matter. So we need to talk about it because a lot of us, especially if we're vulnerable, can walk into a toxic relationship and not even realize that it's not going to serve us. So you have to understand that domestic violence does not just occur on the first date, of course, we know that. But this is something that has led up to a person, which is the abuser, feeling entitled to do and say certain things that hurts the victim or even, I want to say, the victor, especially if you've been able to come out of that situation. All right. So what I want you to know is that, bottom line, with all what I just said, we have to talk about this because some people are in these situations and they don't even know it. When I was dealing with a situation like that, I would have not have automatically said, wow, I'm being abused or whatever. I would have just been like, oh, well, this person, he just got to get better. He just got to come around. He just got to come around. And that's usually how we think when we care about somebody. And that's how our abusers can take advantage of us. So you have to understand how all these emotions, these love emotions, what we think is love, you might be in love with this person and this person has other things going on. You have to understand how we can get tied into domestic violence. Now, my personal story, I will say, generally speaking, I've dealt with domestic violence on two ends. And I was discussing this with a soror not too long ago. And I was already thinking this, but then she turned around and said it herself that she has encountered this on two ends. And so when I say two ends, I'm talking about as a child and as an adult. And so with that being said, a lot of times when we think of domestic violence, we're always thinking of a man hitting a woman, but we also don't necessarily thinking about the children that's watching. The best example that I can use concerning someone who has went public about her story concerning what that was doing to her is Iyanla Vanzant. And Iyanla Vanzant is one person that has dealt with abuse on two ends as well, except when she was a child, she was being abused by somebody in her family, not her father, but someone else in her family. So she dealt with abuse on one end, and then eventually she found herself in that situation again as an adult. And unfortunately, sometimes the most simplest thing to do is the hardest thing to do. And if you have children and you notice that that situation is dangerous, you may need to make a break for it like Iyanla did when she realized that the situation was gone too far, when it went too far. So she took her children and she made a break to leave, and she never turned back. And now she's out helping others disrupt toxic relationships in their lives. So I say this because whether you're a man or a woman, God has designed you for a specific purpose. God has fearfully and wonderfully made you. He made you to be somebody. And no one deserves to be treated as if they are less than a dog. Now, if you put out some mean, nasty, and hateful things, then don't be surprised when that comes back to you. So when you do dirt and you hurt people and things like that, don't play victim when that same stuff come back on you. But if you are a person that endeavors to do right by others, you know in your heart of hearts that you have not tried to hurt people. You might have done it in the past, but now you're moving forward, you're getting past it, you're doing better or whatever. Just know that at this point, you do not deserve to be mistreated. And again, some things is a result of those things that you put out coming back on you. Just depends on what you did and how long you did it. Okay, it just depends. But I want y'all to understand this, because also what's important, even though sometimes we may have done hurt to others, if you're not careful, you can become the abuser by staying with an abuser too long. Now, you have to understand what abuse is, okay? And abuse is when you do something wrong over and over and over, okay? So abuse, it can occur one time, but mostly abuse is considered over and over. So if a person hits their partner one time, that can be considered abuse, but that person becomes an abuser because they're seeking to do it over and over. So in my life, I have been with someone that have came to do things to me over and over. No matter how I tried to talk things out with this person has a perception of right from wrong, but the person comes back and tries to apologize real quick and then expect me to forget about it, and then do the same things over and over, and then worse. And so there was a breaking point for me where I realized I had to disrupt this cycle because this person is not getting it. My life was not getting better. This person was dragging me down. And so I had also talked to another person that told me, you know, at this point, if you go back to it, I don't care if you done left this person for 3 months or 6 months. If you go back to it, it's going to be worse. You know why it's going to be worse? Because the abuser starts to think that this person's not going anywhere. This person is just going to stick with me. This person is going to tolerate. I know this person is going to go away for a season and come back. If the abuser thinks like that and you fall into the trap of believing that this person has changed, you're subjecting yourself to hurt. And I want everybody to be woke on this. If you are in a relationship, you know, that you feel like you're walking on eggshells, you feel as if you want to express yourself to this person, but you can't, that would be a major red flag. That would be a major red flag of how bad or toxic that relationship is that you have with that person. And I'm going to tell you just like this. You got to love yourself so much that you are determined that no relationship with anybody is worth you being unhappy. Let me repeat that, because some of us, we have so many people that we're connected to and we stick with them because sometimes they'll say, well, I'm your family. You're not supposed to leave me alone. I'm your family. You ain't never supposed. Look, you all dominate. Break away from all these traditional beliefs and start thinking for yourself. I don't care who is my family. I don't care who is who. If I'm not happy in the relationship, there's a problem. And I want you all to be on that mindset, because if you think that making mama, daddy, sister, brother happy by being unhappy, how can you dominate in your life if you can't even dominate in your happiness? And this is the purpose of my ministry. My ministry is to help people to dominate in life, not to dominate others. Okay? And that's what abusers do. Abusers seek to dominate others. And that's not where I'm at with helping you all to dominate. I want you to dominate your life. You have to be in control of who comes in your life, who you allow to turn it upside down, who you allow to stay, who you allow to go. And that's why talking about this topic, domestic violence, is so important. Because, yes, I know we all want to feel love. And sometimes we'll go to great lengths to be loved, and we'll end up in the hands of somebody that the devil has sent to destroy us. And so you have to be that change agent in your life. And who knows, when you become that change agent in your life, then you may even help others learn how to become change agents in their life. So you have to understand the importance of looking at your relationships. Look at those that make you happy. Look at those that make you unhappy. And you have to make some decisions, because that's how you're going to dominate. And with this relationship that I'm discussing, when you're in a toxic relationship with somebody that's not, especially they're not going nowhere in God, that delays you from your purpose. That gets in your way, because instead of you focusing on, well, what can I do for my ministry? What can I do for my project? What can I do for my job? What can I do for my career? You're studying this person. You're running around behind this person. This person got you not going to sleep at night. This person got you running around worrying about where he or she at. This person got you all discombobulated. And then sometimes they take that death blow. When I mean the death blow, I mean like sometimes they do the part where they cut you off. They say, I'm done with you. And some of them, they not really done with you. They just want to see if you going to come crying after them, or they want you to cry after them so they can do it again. And see, that's another level of abuse I had to learn, because I didn't know to that extent at one point that some people is that abusive and I want to say damaged that they'll do things like that to other people. So yes, you have people that will break up with you, and then they know if you just call them, you'll come running to the phone and you want to make things up, and they'll play on that just to do the same thing again because you allow it. And I'm here to let you know, man of God, woman of God, men of God, women of God, I'm here to let you know you do not deserve to be in a relationship where somebody's hurting you just to feel loved. Now, the God I serve is awesome. And he made a whole bunch of people on this earth. Other than this one person, we done delegated all our time and energy to, that probably done wasted our time and energy. I am here to help you all dominate. And again, not to dominate other people. That's what abusers do. Abusers are the real losers because they are fighting within themselves. And what happens is that fight within themselves, they put it on other people. And now somebody else is getting hurt because they did not resolve whatever issue went on within themselves. They did not rightfully distribute whatever the issue is. Somebody hurt them in the past, so they're holding on to it. They're afraid you're going to do the same thing. So they hurt you before you can hurt them, or so they think. Or it may not be, they might know that you're not going to try to hurt them, but they keep putting their frustration on you instead of seeking healing. First of all, some of these people won't even go to God. So I want you all to understand there are some dynamics to dealing with domestic abuse, and an abuser will do it again. And that's what you have to understand. And a lot of times, and I know, I'm going to say particularly as a woman, I don't know what perspective to come from as a man, but I can say as a woman, because we have the tendency to be nurturing and very forgiving, especially when it comes to a male partner. You know, we will give this person the benefit of the doubt until it starts to hurt us. And some of us will continue through the hurt. I've continued through the hurt, but then it came to a point where my self-respect was challenged. And when my self-respect was challenged, that's when I was like, you know what? No more. This has to end. This is finished. This is a wrap. This is something I cannot endure anymore. It is not worth it. I started counting up my losses. I seen how I was losing, and I was like, you know what? I have to do something about it. And once I cut that person loose, then I was able to see things happen in my life. Then my ministries started to flourish. Then I'm, you know, much happier, things like that. So I want all of you to know that when you're dealing with domestic violence, it's not going to always be evident. It's not going to be like this person going to jump up and punch you in the face the first day or curse you out on the first date. Usually that doesn't happen. Sometimes it may, and we might still be up in the clouds, especially if you're vulnerable. Sometimes if your spirit is vulnerable to certain people, some people can see it or discern it. The ones that don't need to discern it, sometimes are the ones discern that you're vulnerable, so they can do or get away with some things. And because you feel like you need a partner, you need somebody to be with at that moment, now here you go, trying to make something work with somebody that's out for them. And again, I can come at you like this because I've been in situations like that. Okay? So I want you to know, I'm not talking out the side of my head. I'm not talking off of everybody's experience that I heard. Some of this stuff is things that I've encountered. And then when I started to look up what is the meaning of domestic abuse, domestic violence, then I started to realize I was in these types of relationships at one point where I did not realize that I was being victimized and I was being abused. So at this point, I'm going to say this. First of all, I'm thankful. I'm thankful because, again, I told you all, I've been on both sides of domestic violence. I've been one that have observed it as a child, and I've experienced it as an adult. And some of us that are listening, if you think about it, you have probably experienced it both ways. If you experience it as an adult, I can understand why too, because sometimes people that we come across, they appear that there's nothing wrong. And then when they start putting their problems on you, you start to feel sympathetic or try to empathize or sympathize with this person. And you end up getting drawn into a situation that you didn't see coming. And again, I can say these things from experience, because as an adult, women, when we attach ourselves to certain situations, sometimes we don't recognize something as toxic until it's too late. But the biggest thing that I can tell you to help you discern whether you're in a toxic relationship, and if it's toxic, trust and believe, if it's toxic, don't try to make it your goal to make it better. Don't try to change this person. If it's toxic, call it what it is. It's toxic and you need to get help. So the main way to measure if you are in a toxic, abusive relationship, and abuse doesn't always have to be with hitting, okay? Abuse can be somebody calling you out your name. I don't care if the person called you stupid. Why should this person call you stupid? Why should this person dehumanize you? Why should this person insult your intelligence? This person call you stupid because you made a mistake or you didn't do something right. That is a form of abuse, but that's a ball starting of domestic violence in its smallest terms, or domestic abuse. And not all instances of domestic abuse is somebody hitting you. Again, it's what that person is saying to you. They call you out your name. For women, the B word. Men is something else, or something that emasculates you. You know, abuse is abuse. You hurt somebody with your words. That's just as bad at times hurting somebody with your hands. So, getting back to what I wanted to get to, the main telltale sign that you're in a toxic relationship is when you have to ask yourself this question. You have to ask yourself this question. Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells with this person? So you ask yourself that question, and then you got to determine the extent of this question. All right. So is the extent because you're unsure of how this person will respond if you say, hey, this is hurting me. I don't like this. You know, are you unsure if you came to the person like that, how they would respond? Or are you afraid of what that person will do? Because this person here, when you tried to talk to this person before, they blew up at you. They cussed you out. They wasn't even trying to hear what you had to say. So that's the main underlying subsequent question that I would focus on. Number one, when it comes to, are you unsure? You do have to do some thinking on that. But it could be that depending on where you are in this relationship, you may have to get to know this person some more. Maybe you're reading the person the wrong way. Maybe they read you the wrong way, whatever. But on the second part, if you are walking on eggshells because you are afraid that this person is going to blow up at you, that is a telltale sign that you're in a toxic relationship. You should never be in a relationship where you are afraid that if you say to this person that you are supposed to be in a relationship with, hey, I did not like what you did and it hurt me. It hurt my feelings. And again, I'm telling you this because I was in that position. I told this person something similar to this. I said, hey, you know, that hurt my feelings. I felt disrespected. And the person just dismissed. You wasn't disrespected. You wasn't this. You wasn't that. That didn't happen. And that's what an abuser will do. When an abuser is in the wrong or they're not trying to meet you on where you are, that's what they'll do. They'll dismiss it, and you don't deserve that. So that's why this conversation is super important to have. So I encourage you all to reflect on your relationships, okay? Now, when I say relationships, I'm not encouraging people to shack up and fornicate just to say that they're in a relationship. I'm saying if you're in a relationship of any type now, you need to look and reflect on these things to make sure that you are not headed down a path that can lead to you losing yourself or even losing your life. I want you to remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and marvelous are God's work, and that your soul should know right well. And I said that based on Psalm 139 and 14.